today it's Vmax time. Okay, so I was overseas for quite a few years and nothing mechanical likes to sit. And this is a prime example of one of them here. So the Vmax, when you turn the key on, you'll hear a series of clicks. That is the fuel pump. My only problem is when I start it now, you continue to hear that click. And then of course nothing is happening with the actual fuel movement, so the engine dies. You can try giving it gas, and of course that's going to be trying to inject gasoline from the float bowls into the carburetors, and if there's nothing in the float bowls because the fuel pump's not doing its job, then of course the engine is going to stop running. So that's something we're going to do later on in the near future. Here I'm just waiting for parts to come in, progressive springs, the seals, and a bunch of other hardware. I'll be taking apart the front forks and doing a fork oil / seal replacement, because I do get that ring, and then I actually had a drip making its way down and it was on the floor, and I was able to trace it back, and that's when I realized, okay, the fork seals are gone. So that's something I'll be doing in the near future as soon as I get the parts in. But today we're definitely going to go ahead and take this thing apart and get into replacing the fuel pump, and then I'll fire it up, and at least it should run and be good to go. And then of course I just have to work on those forks. This is the culprit right here. I got this from Partzilla. It's a company I use all the time for my bikes. They do all types of bikes, and I can tell right now just by that triple diamond this is a Mitsubishi item, so that's kind of cool. But it is specifically for the Vmax, and this is the one right here. It says genuine Yamaha. That's the part number in case you guys need it. And this is just a little protective hose here that's actually just protecting the ends here where the actual fuel lines are going to go, and that's the plug. Of course, before I do anything, I'm going to jam some dielectric grease down inside here just so that I'll always have a good contact and I never have to worry about any corrosion. So what we'll do, we'll start by removing the hard bags. This little bag back here, or a compartment, is actually built into the Corbin seat, so we'll take that off, and then of course we'll just pop this what looks like a tank, but not really. We all know it's a dummy tank cover, but it does hide a lot of the stuff that the motorcycle needs to operate with. And we'll open this up, and I'll go ahead and show you guys where everything's at. Alright, now that I have my morning coffee here, I'm all fired up. There's with the bags off, the seat and the tank off. Come over here. I'll take these two caps off that I put on that just kind of dress up and keep the corrosion from forming up on the two nuts, which go to, that's right, there's the fuel pump right there. I did another video where I went ahead and upgraded and replaced the fuel filter, which sits right here. There's the line there. So looks like the best thing to do would be to take this bracket off so it's out of the way. That'll actually lift the entire fuel pump assembly out, and then I can get at everything, and then should be able to put it back in. But it looks like this will have to come out. So we'll just take this line off here, this one here, then this lifts pretty much straight up, and I can leave the fluid in there. And again, that's going to free up this whole area. So that, and plus these 4 bolts here, and that should give us good access to the fuel pump. Alright, so here's the tank. So take those 2 tubes off. Just give it a tug straight up and it comes right out. This is also a good thing to take a look at. I'd say every, I don't know, if you want to look at it as being in every couple of years or so, just double check. There's usually some sediment down here in the bottom, some debris, not to mention these little tubes here start to get slightly clogged. It's not a bad idea to give these things a good clean, which is what I did not too long ago when I went ahead and cleaned out the air box right in here, cleaned out the intakes. They were on both sides right there. Opened it up, any dust and stuff like that. Checked the filter. I had a K&N, so I just fully serviced it. And like I said, at the same time worked on the tank. So that's something good to take a look at also. Look at it. Just fits. That'll work perfect. Just take the covers off, leave these in for now. I think I will crack these loose while it's all supported, so I'm not trying to crack it loose in my hand. And then we'll go ahead and get the fuel pump out. In the video I talked about this LED and replaces the reflector, just tied into the brake light wires. These are the 2 loads. I basically put in, that's on another video, when I went ahead and put the LEDs in the back so I didn't get the hyper flash. Coming up through here, again the filter. These items here needed a ground, so that's what this is. That was added. I have this right here as part of the bolt assembly for where the fuel pump is. Down in here, I talked in another video where the one phase of the three-phase AC system coming off your stator that's basically built into the engine, they bring it up into here. If you pull the main wire off your battery positive side and unravel the tape and just keep going, you'll see where there's a crimp, and they crimp the darn thing so darn hard it actually breaks half of the strands of wire. When you do that, it increases resistance, and that had me right at 12 volts off the stator, no matter what RPM I was at, which is what the battery is, which is why my batteries didn't last. After cleaning up that area that was pinched off, putting a piece of wire in there, soldering it up, I now have 13.5 volts to charge the battery. I really don't have a lot of problems anymore, but that's just something while you're in here. When you pull the coil pack off, if you guys replace your battery, you know what I'm talking about, but you can just go ahead and unravel. So getting back to the main point today, again, that's all loose. We bring this up, and there's the actual fuel pump right there. I don't give you a whole lot of room, so I'll have to fight with this thing with two hands to get the fuel lines off, which is right over in this area here. Once I do that, then of course this will lift right out, and I can go ahead and disengage the wires that actually power this thing. So again, you can see them down there. I just need a couple hands to get the clamps off, get some paper towels down in there to pick up any residual fuel, and then get that removed. I did crack these open. They were rubber isolators, and it was just nice while this was held in place just to crack these loose, and then I can finish taking them off later. Alright, there's like a seal that sets up inside here, so what you want to do is you want to break that seal loose, and I just use a pick, gently go in there and then go around it. That kind of breaks the seal that's formed over the years, and then you can just pull this straight out. So let me go ahead and get this off and bring this over to the bench. Alright, as suspected, even though I had a little paper towel shoved down in here, it's bone dry because the pump wasn't doing its job to go ahead and get the fuel up. Where it plugs in is right up in here. You'll see there's just a little hook you push down on as you pull it out. Everything else looked okay. It's weird. Not sure what the heck that is. It looks like that's something I disconnected from this bracketry. I'll have to double check on how it goes back in, since that contains the latch, but I wasn't paying attention to it. So I'll have to make sure I get this thing re-engaged. Otherwise it's not going to work with the key to go ahead and release the tank. So there's a larger fuel hose down there, the smaller one up here. It's kind of nice because on the pump itself, one's large and one's small. Basically what we look like right here. Okay, there's a little hole there, so I'll make sure I take that hook and put it back inside here when I put this back in. Again, that's something I didn't see, I didn't catch, but at least you guys will see it. And at least we'll put a nice straight bracket in, and let's get this one replaced real quick. Some of you guys, you know, the first thing I would check, of course, would be the fuel filter. The one I put in has a window, and it's fairly new, and at the same time it gives me a chance to take a look at it, versus the original one was old, yellowed, and when I went ahead and split it open, it was basically starting to disintegrate on the inside, and with that, those particles can block the filter. So if you do something like this, or at least every, oh, I don't know, man, about 4 or 5 oil changes, just go ahead and double check this, or even replace it. Again, I have a video on that. You don't have to use this filter, whichever one you want to use, but it's a good job to go ahead and replace the filter when you're doing the pump. Coming over here, it is the exact same unit. It's got the 3 diamonds on the bottom, the Mitsubishi made one, and some of the guys take these apart and they repair it, and there's a little valve that goes up and down and comes loose and all that, and they just reset it and make sure the barb that holds that little valve in place is in the right position. However, my thing is, if it came out, it's probably going to come out again. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't like to keep doing stuff over and over. And I sure as hell hate wasting money, but this is one of those deals where you don't have a choice. If you decide to keep your bike, like I do, it's a good idea just to put all new parts in. Even on Partzilla, there's an aftermarket one that's less than half the price of this one, but I don't know who makes it or what the reliability it is. And at least when you buy the parts from a Yamaha part, it does have a nice warranty with it and stuff on the part itself. So anyway, let's get this installed and let's get this back in the bike. Just one little extra caveat. Before I put those on, I'm going to use this low strength Loctite. Again, there's no lock washer or anything like that. It just keeps it from coming loose. All bikes, I don't care who makes them, BMW, Hondas, it doesn't matter. They all vibrate. So anytime you can basically fight that vibration by using some Loctite so nothing ever comes loose, that's kind of the way to go. So I'm going to put some of that Loctite on here, the 2 washers and the 2 nuts. Okay, so there's the hook back on, that latch. I'll probably put just a couple dabs of 3-in-1 oil right here and on the other side, since that is a pivoting point. All plugged in here. Just make sure this sheathing is moved down closer to the body of the pump. That's where all the rubbing goes on, and that way the wires have some protection. And fuel lines are in. Again, always kind of a pain in the butt, but it can be done. Heck, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So what I'll do is I'll throw in the bolts. I won't fully tighten everything, and then of course I'll get the tank on. I'll just pop these on. Again, I won't even move the clips for now, just while I do a test run, just to make sure everything's good. Then if it is, I can tighten everything down. So that's the new pump. Same thing, a little Loctite on the threads, never hurts. Again, it's a low strength. Even the high strength that says permanent, you can still crack that with a wrench, but it's just stronger for any parts that maybe have to do with the suspension or something like that. But I'm just a true believer in Loctite. I don't like stuff to vibrate loose. Alright, so there again, this is in, clips aren't on yet. These are snug but not tight. Same thing with these here. This also gives me a chance while I'm running it to check for any fuel leaks. If so, I'll have to take these little pinch clamps off and put on some band clamps. I use a different type, and of course I use stainless for obvious reasons. So right now, let's go ahead and fire it up and see how it works. Alright, so when I turn the key on, you should hear the clicks. There it is. That's the fuel pump doing its job. And again, the other one, the bike would run. This would run continuously, and then the bike would die because it had no fuel. So fingers crossed that this is the problem. It's not something worse than this. So let's add some choke. Yes, these bikes are carbureted. So she's running great. Like I said before, it would actually die. The pump would keep continually running, and I had no fuel going in there. It's a little hard today because the float bowls were empty. I had to get the fuel in there. So now I can basically tighten everything up, and this bike is good to go except for the leaky fork. I don't need anything getting all heated up with the bike running, so it's off for now, but job done. It's all fixed there. Crash test dummy in Australia would be proud. Anyway, so like I said, I'm going to go ahead and lube these, give these a snug, get the caps back on, put these back into place. I have 0 leaks, which is always a good thing. And guys, this is just stuff that happens. You know what I mean? Especially if you're an idiot like me and you take off out of the country for a few years. Even when you get back and try to run everything, nothing likes to sit. During that time, I also had a slave cylinder as part of the hydraulic clutch. That went ahead and well, I'm not going to say it seized up on me, but the seals inside shrunk. There was pass-through leakage, and it wasn't working. Alright, so this is pressed into place. Clips are on, coming down here, tight, 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 and tight. And again, we used a bit of the Loctite in there. These are bone dry. These are snugged up. Caps are back on. Again, I just like to try to prevent corrosion. Pivot point down there with the hook, along with the axle here, or the shaft. Along with this thing here, just a pinch of oil. Alright, so that's it. All buttoned back up, all set to go, except for the front forks. But we'll see you folks again on another YouTube video in the future, where we're actually taking those off, the front end apart, and replacing and gutting them out. So you guys know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe, maybe hit that bell notification for future content.